Thank you for joining us once again on the Participation Trophy podcast. This is episode number 22.
Ooze.
We still got this thing rolling because, as you all know, we exist in your lives for no other reason but to bring you headline news, pop culture juicies, the hottest sports takes, good food conversation, better porn references. You name it, we might talk about it. What's going on with y'all tonight? We got Jamal Smith, Saint Zadie, Neil Dalal. I am Abdullah. The agenda is busy once again this week. Cam Newton got into verbal jabs with a preteen at his own football camp. Anthony Edwards' dunk got buzzkilled by a bunch of unathletic virgins on Twitter. The Washington Wizards, who are actually playing right now, down by 11 in the first, winners of 5 straight before tonight. Hopefully it'll be 6 by the time y'all listen to this tomorrow. We got some new stuff for you to watch on TV, and we'll get into some of that a little bit later, but we're actually going to go ahead and kick off tonight's program with a prelude to the theater segment. Tekashi 6ix9ine, the rainbow-haired rap artist out of Bushwick, Brooklyn. He might be familiar to some of y'all because his mouth looks like a bowl of Fruit Loops. But yeah, 69 has been back in the news recently this week for some fresh beef on the menu.
69?
6ix9ine. 6ix9ine. This kid has had just about every cut of beef known to butchers. We're talking about sirloin tips, ground chuck, prime rib, but he also has a three-part docuseries on Showtime. And this is why he is relevant. Zane, you are our resident Tekashi groupie. My man couldn't wait to watch this shit. Yeah,
I'm not in any shape.
Did you get a chance to? Did you get a chance to watch it?
Yes, I watched the first 2 episodes. Jamal, I know you watched part 1. Is that right?
That's right. Part 1. Watched part 1 yesterday. Yep.
Right. So yeah, I just watched both parts today. The only reason why I had interest in the documentary is I've been kind of following his story for the last couple years. Not a fan of his music. I don't really listen to his music, but the videos I find myself not being able to turn away from, which is something they address. Yeah, I mean, which is something they address in the documentary. And basically, most of the part 1 of the documentary is going into his background, going into his childhood, how he got to the point, of where he is today. And it basically confirms a lot of things. Like, okay, he might have came from somewhat of a broken home in a sense, but he wasn't involved in violent activity. He wasn't involved with gangs, but he was a kid from Brooklyn who kind of had a dream and found a way to market himself and kind of found a way to kind of make it big by shooting these loud music videos with like a rock and roll punk sort of style, fully acknowledging that the lyrics were trash. It wasn't about any of the actual content, although the videos is kind of where he wanted to make his money. Videos being flashy, short, full of, really sharp
that's what he sold a lot of his producers on too. Like just the producers, they were just, this is some fucking wild shit.
Yeah, I mean, the word genius gets thrown around. I don't like that word. It's not genius, but what it is.
It's too easy to be a genius now.
There are so many people that know how to attack a market that is built off instant gratification. It's built off images of the street. And it's built off flash, So Jamal, I know you probably got something to say about that if you want to jump in here.
Yeah, so I would say 6ix9ine is the first artist that made me, as a man of a certain age, feel like I was totally out of touch with like current hip hop, current music, period. Because I found his shit unlistenable. Like it was like grating to listen to. I remember like when I hear about new artists, and frankly, I get a lot of my newer music cues from like my nephew and my niece. So if they talking about some shit, I follow their playlist on Apple Music. And if I see something, I'm like, well, I'll come back to that. I'll just pop it in my music library. I remember driving one day and fucking Gummo, which is like, I think 6ix9ine's biggest song, came up in my shuffle. And bro, I thought like I was gonna fucking crash. Like the shit was so cacophonous. And I was like, oh my God. So I've always, viewed him as an interesting figure, but kind of like Zane, like not interested at all in the music, just this creation that he's kind of developed for himself. So my takeaways were from episode 1, hate him or love him. He is, he's got great business acumen as it comes to, when it comes to marketing himself.
Yeah.
He knows he developed his brand very quickly. And it started with, all the way down to like the clothing, which is some of the worst shit I've ever
Mhm.
seen.
Yeah.
He literally clothing with gigantic black letters that said HIV
Yeah.
and pussy and the N word.
Right. The shock value. Right. Right.
Just,
Right.
just over the top shit, right?
Right. Right.
Girl
Right.
was with him and she was helping model the shit too.
Sarah. Right. Sarah.
I think that's what
Sarah
her name was.
Molina, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was on the Hulu doc too. So okay.
Okay. So he knew how to create a buzz for himself.
Right.
I think one of his producers said for each song that he made, he wanted to have a visual accompaniment. So it wasn't enough to just be a SoundCloud rapper.
Right.
He was pushing out his version of music videos. He was dropping the money. He was finding out ways to kind of piece all this together. That shit's a gift, whether you like it or not. He was
Yeah.
a prepackaged like star, if you will.
Right.
And he acknowledged that, it wasn't about lyricism for him. It was about this package of shit that you get.
Right.
So I thought that was really interesting.
He and to one of the points you made, he was confident in himself that even before he blew up, he was convinced he was going to blow up.
He's going to do something.
Like he was going right. So he in the Hulu documentary, you see parts where they talk about the first time he got his hair dyed, and and all that shit, even the tattoos on his face, all that shit happened before he really blew up.
Yeah.
He would go and get these things done. People are like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, don't worry about it. I'm gonna be a star.
Yep.
Like that confidence, it's very admirable. And he was able to, we talk about his marketability, but he was able to leverage what enables him to be able to market yourself so quickly.
Yeah.
Social media, YouTube, Instagram. And when you put out that shock value type shit, the random words on your shirt, the pink hair, or the rainbow hair, the rainbow teeth, and you just throw that shit out there, right? And you got somewhat of a following to begin with, and people are gonna start jumping on you.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think who's the guy that hosts the No Jumper podcast?
Adam
Yeah.
22.
So he was saying what I guess probably the most poignant line of the first episode from Adam was, when you continue to kind of drive yourself to the bottom and you have to get essentially worse and worse with your narrative that you have to kind of keep up with your persona, it's going to kind of fucking blow up at some point, right?
It always does.
He was really just doing a race to the bottom as far as shock value and, what do I need to do to continue to go viral? Like his whole thing was, I needed to, I wanted shares, I wanted likes, I wanted, look at me, I'm on,
Right.
Worldstar already, I'm on this and I'm on that. So, effectively he was setting himself up to implode. And I think
there's limits to visibility, right? Like it's always great to get the likes and get the spotlight on social media, but for him it backfired. He was 17 years old and ended up in the pen because he goes to Harlem to shoot again. Everything needed a visual, right? He caught up with some dudes, shot a music video in a trap house in Harlem. He admitted on the documentary, I had never been to Harlem. He had never been to Harlem before that opportunity. Ends up in the trap house, right? I don't know if anybody heard the story, but a young woman shows up to the studio. A bunch of dudes start having sex with her. He later realizes she was only 13 years old. He ends up in the pen for 2 years because he was 18 years old.
I've heard
right.
that.
So that's what I'm saying. So, but why did he get caught? Because he recorded that shit and posted it to he live streamed it. Right. So that visibility is what eventually caught up to him.
So for that charge, he got 4 years probation, right?
So he did time, and then he had probation after that.
Oh, he did time.
He was in Rikers for 2 years. Yeah, for not 2 years. No, I'm sorry. That the link might be long, but he did end up in Rikers because he was 18 years old. He had just turned 18. Right.
But the prison sent. I mean, when he's on trial for,
I don't know. I don't know that part.
All right, so let's go. So basically, here's the thing, right? And here's what you're talking about with the visibility. He basically has done something that a lot of artists do that a lot of mainstream fans won't realize. For example, Drake.
Yeah.
Drake at his apex ended up doing business with James Prince, right? James Prince is considered the boogeyman of rap, right? James Prince, Rap A Lot Records, etc.
Gatekeeper of
the gatekeeper, right?
South, yeah.
We're talking about a guy who used to be Floyd Mayweather's manager, and when they had a money problem, they busted into the gym and they beat the shit out of everybody. And they threatened to kill Floyd Mayweather basically until Floyd Mayweather had to go to Bob Arum and basically say, pay this man or some shit's gonna happen, right? So we're talking about rappers who align themselves with street dudes, not just to gain credibility, but as a form of muscle,
Yeah.
right? So when you look at Drake, who gets involved in the Pusha T beef, Pusha T basically drops the beef because James Prince says, "Drop the beef, it's over," right? So this is the advantage that guys who are talking about the street life in some sort of capacity, they have to align themselves with people who are really about it, right?
Sure.
So the rise of 6ix9ine is basically, I'm going to align myself with the Treyway Bloods because they're going to be in my videos. I'm going to get street credibility. The part where I'm torn on this, there's two different things. There's this perception that Tekashi 6ix9ine is the worst person in the world because he snitched on his crew and et cetera, et cetera. But one of the parts that kind of, it's not a fanboy thing. What it is in the streets, and Neil, you've seen The Wire, right? So when D'Angelo, who's kin to a drug lord, right, ends up in prison, the drug kingpins don't say, "Oh, if he snitches, he's dead," or "He's not going to snitch." They say, "We have a guy who has pressure on him. How do we keep him happy?" Right. So what I noticed in the documentary, there's a bit of a slant where they're trying to show these blood members, and maybe they're getting their lives together, whatnot. They actually have a bit, right, where they have one of the prominent blood members talking about how basically he got on YouTube and discovered all this interesting stuff about the world and the Bermuda Triangle. It was pretty funny, right?
Must be episode 2.
Yeah, that's episode 2, I think, right? So they basically had this guy come in. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm from the hood, but I'm trying to get my shit together. And by the way, I was reading all this stuff about Area 51, and it was striking to me, and blah 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 blah." So it's like, what's the relevance of this, right? It's trying to humanize somebody that is a part of a gang.
Right.
I'm not saying he's not a human. I'm not saying he's not a normal person or has a soft side. The point is, the slant of the documentary is basically pinpointing everything on Tekashi 6ix9ine, when in actuality, in real life, his issues with them were that on tour, he would go on tour, he'd get paid a certain amount. They were skimming off the top, right? Whether that was an agreement they had, if he gets $200K for a show, when he gets the money, it's 150, right? Long story short, one of the members of the crew kidnap him, rob him for hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of jewelry, right?
Yeah.
And it's from his own gang that basically kidnapped and robbed him.
Oh shit.
Right.
Okay.
So then you have a situation later on when he goes in the Breakfast Club and he's trying to get away from these people, but he can't. He's married to the mob, right? Essentially. Now, obviously, he had a huge part in all this, because what we're seeing now is, what I don't get is, he's not affiliated with the Bloods. He has no backing. And now he's beefing with Little Reese, right? He, at the time of when he was with the Bloods, he was beefing with FBG Duck. FBG Duck was just murdered in broad daylight 2 months ago, right? So you're talking about a guy who's has blood on his hands, is a real guy in the streets. He's dead. He basically on IG Live, right, before he was arrested and associated with the Blood Gang, basically in subtle words threatened to put money on his head, right? Now he's beefing with Lil Reese. Lil Reese is known as the Chirac Grim Reaper. We're talking about stone cold killers here, right? So now he's beefing with Meek Mill, right? Who is so famous. That I get. He's famous to the point where he can get exposure. Meek Mill has too much to lose. He's not going to get involved in that, right?
Exactly.
But what I don't understand is, now he has no backing. He's still beefing with all these street dudes. I mean, I don't understand how long this guy has to live, because
And
at the time,
he's currently in witness protection, right?
no, he's not, because he can't be witness protection if you're out and your identity is known, right?
He needs to be in witness protection, and he's needed to be in witness protection for a long time. I don't know how the question you posed, why is he still alive, or how is he still alive?
Yes,
I don't know. But here's the thing, bro. Like there's an underlying element to this about Tekashi that kind of gets overlooked, because we talk about everything on the surface, right? His beef with the Bloods and this, that, and the other. But from a very young age, Tekashi was already, his credibility amongst his friends had already been diminished at that point. When he got out of jail after the whole rape shit, he got bailed out for $100,000.
Yeah.
And his boys, I can't remember their names, P and something Killer, they were the ones that bailed him out. They never got repaid for it. And not only did they never got repayment for it, he started ducking them, and they were the ones that owned all his publishing at that point. And his publishing, when I say publishing, I'm talking about the videos he had published on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
They deleted all that shit, and that was the source.
Yeah.
So everything he had created to that point had been completely wiped off the map because of these guys.
So as far as his current standing, is it possible people just don't see him as a fucking serious person anyway?
No, exactly. That's exactly what, bro. Listen, Zane, I'm telling you, he was 17 years old when all this shit happened, right? And then on top of that, the whole scum gang thing that I learned about that he had created. Scum Gang was
Mhm.
basically his movement for kids in poverty, kind of to look up to, something to look up to and say, you know what? Yeah, you might be considered scum, but you can make it out the hood if you do some crazy shit like me, basically, right?
Mhm.
That's what Scum Gang was about. And his friends, or the people that the people that thought were his friends,
Mhm.
kind of felt like they were part of that as they
Mhm.
were, growing with them and hanging
Yeah.
out with them and doing shit with them. They thought they were Scum Gang, but in
Mhm.
reality, Scum Gang was a one-man mob
Yeah.
in Takashi's mind. It was his. So that's what I'm saying. So when you develop that perception
Mhm.
and that reputation, especially on the streets, where
Mhm.
people know that you ain't in it for your boys or anybody else, for crew or anything,
Mhm.
yeah, you start to lose that credibility and that trust.
Yeah.
And
course,
now we're
but-
seeing it. Now we're seeing it unfold on the highest level with this whole, with all these cases and the snitching and all that shit that's going on. So
Of course, I'm not saying he has integrity. I'm not saying that, but this is a gang, all right? So
yeah,
there's no loyal, regardless of what you want to say. My perception is we got money. He's making more than us,
yeah,
right? We need a bigger piece of the pie, right? And my perception of the story was they got him involved in a robbery that they was on security camera to basically further entrench him into being involved with the gang to the point where he
Right.
couldn't leave,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Which is essentially what organizations try to do to kind of exert power over something, like
They
the
have
guy
leverage.
Shoddy ended up having sex with his baby moms too, right? So there's a lot of details here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the documentary just felt like it was so slanted towards
Yeah.
humanizing this gang.
I
and
get
completely
it. I get
pinpointing
it. I just
know?
I just feel personally, just from what I've learned about Takashi, is that he's being treated the same way that I wouldn't be surprised if he treated somebody else.
Of
That's all I'm
course,
saying.
yeah. But there's
That's
stories
all
like
I'm
this
saying.
about Jay-Z and leaving people fucking stranded.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
people
yeah.
who he
but
who he
but
grew
at
up
the same,
with.
yeah. But Jay-Z was a lot more adult oriented, a lot
Of
more
course,
smart,
definitely.
right?
definitely.
Takashi's 17 years old when all this shit started popping out. 15, 16 years old, 17 years old when the rape thing happened. But before that, he was already kind of just establishing himself on the street and establishing
Yeah.
a reputation that was starting to become known. And again,
Of
that
course.
shock value was allowing him to overcome all that shit that was going on
Yeah.
on the back and on the street.
I just don't see where
because
it's going.
I don't either.
The people
Like I
he's-
said, why?
The people he's dissing are not people to get, like.
So
It's-
what is, I'm sorry, what is his current status right now in society? Like is he
I don't even know.
So basically, the story is, and
Neil's on already?
he obviously snitched on all the members of the crew, right?
Yeah.
And basically, what happened was at the time of he went on the Breakfast Club, and he basically out of nowhere was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not Treyway no more. I'm not with them." Right? The FBI is listening at this point. The FBI also has wiretaps on all the Blood members, right? So immediately there's a call from Mel Murda to Jim Jones, and Shoddy's on the line, and they basically say, "You heard what he did. We got to violate him," right?
Jesus.
Which means there's two things
Sounds-
that can happen.
Sounds
in
like an
prison.
anal probe.
No, I mean that's what it is. It's like a call for murder or sodomy, right? Immediately they're all picked up. Long story short, he snitches on all of them. He testifies against all of them. Shoddy's now serving, 25 to life or something like that in prison. But everybody's word was obviously he's going to have security. He has money by the time he gets out, but eventually that security is going to run out, right? So he's not in witness protection, but now he's in a position where he's got to make enough money to continually have security.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question: is what is next for his career? Because obviously, just like you said, everything's going to run out at a certain point, right?
He's just going to keep making these videos, right? He's going to keep making these videos and insulting people, right, to keep himself in the headlines. But like you said, this is going to die out eventually, and
The
eventually
act-
he's not going to have money.
Yeah, the act is worn thin at this point.
You know,
I thought that was weird. They called him like like raps like first troll. Like I thought 50 was like the first like OG troll.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And you draw a lot of 50 comparisons when you're thinking about all the shit in your head, because 50 kind of went out the same way when he first came in the same way, dissing everybody, picking beefs with random people,
Yeah.
and
But you
he
couldn't
had,
test him.
you couldn't test him,
You
right?
couldn't test 50. You could.
He's a
Yeah,
lot smarter,
he
yeah.
he was more than he was a goon, right? He was like
Right.
he was a famous rich goon. That's what they called him. He was the richest goon in the game,
That's
right?
appropriate. Yeah.
But 50 also had talent. 50 can rap.
50
make
can rap, but he
music.
needed that entry, right? And that entry
Right.
was insulting people. I would say it's 50 Cent, but there's also parallels
Yeah.
to Tupac. And I'm not saying Tupac is as phony as Tekashi 69,
Mhm.
but the parallels are is that Tupac was not in a gang. He had MLB tatted on his body, right? Which is only reserved for gang members. He was constantly affiliated with gang members, but he wasn't part of the gang, right? And what happened is he ended up punching a real gang member in the face, and he was murdered,
Mhm.
right? So these are the things where, like you said, the visibility, like you can only get so involved in these things without having the accolades and the reputation of being able to defend
Yeah.
yourself, right?
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like in this generation, like guys like Takashi and other rappers, they're key into the game, into the industry, is just posting some wild shit on the internet,
Yeah.
getting some. It's all about clout, and we can make these comparisons to 50 to a certain degree, but the reason why 50 made it was eventually the talent and the skills on the mic and being able to produce good music. To a good audience was what eventually blew him up. It wasn't just him, the shock value of him just going at every rapper or saying whatever
No.
the fuck he wanted. That's how he got on the map. That's how we recognized him.
Yeah.
Remember the first song, one of the first songs I heard by 50 before the whole Get Rich or Die Trying shit was How to Rob. There you go.
Yeah.
Because you just like, wow, what the fuck? That was our shock value at that time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There was no access to a free website where you could just post your videos live and dress however the fuck you want and get a reaction out of it, right?
Yeah.
Like the hustle is still real. The hustle still exists because Tekashi still hustled to make the content, shooting the videos, getting the props, getting
going
the bitches,
on tour. I mean, they showed how much energy put in this tour.
All that shit, right? But what I'm saying is like, there's no hustle to make good content. Like this shit popped off when Soulja Boy first came out, right? We were just like, oh, this motherfucker had a YouTube account and a trial version of Fruit Loops to make a beat.
Yeah, right.
Right. I remember that's the first dude that made us old heads be like, fuck, man. Like we used to rappers used to bend over backwards just to get a demo tape to the front door of a producer, right? This motherfucker's using a trial version of a software. Yeah, like but the shit sold. Man.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. I'm
speaking
on my grown man sandbox.
There's a demographic. I mean, I heard my 7-year-old girl cousin and my niece at 10 years old talking about Tekashi 69. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
yo, today Zara goes, what is that app where you find a new wife? I was like, you talking about eHarmony? You talking about new eHarmony? She saw the commercial.
Shadi.com.
yeah.
So every time she sees an app commercial, she's like, Daddy, Mama, you got to get that app, right? Because she's into apps, right? Because her iPad, that's what she knows, is downloading apps. And I was like, nah, that's for people who don't have a wife yet. They want to get a wife or a husband. She goes, oh, but you already have one? I was like, yeah. So then she just created this whole idea of, oh, if you want a new wife, you get one from me.
It's that simple, yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, I'm not done talking about beefs yet. We talking about all this Tekashi shit, 50 Cent and all that, but Lakeith Stanfield and Charlemagne back in the news. I know we got some history there. How did it all start? Lakeith says something about black platforms. Go ahead, Jamal. What's going on here?
I did a quick catch up on this. So and Zane, please jump in where you see fit. But it looks like you said about a year ago now, Lakeith did an Instagram post where he shit on kind of black media outlets, and he lumped in, I think, God, what was it? Shade Room, something with the Breakfast Club.
Yep.
I think one or two others, right?
I think it was the author of a book, right? Black Privilege.
Charlemagne the God. That's the author of the Black
Privilege. Charlemagne wrote that book.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He went at those outlets. First, I don't think Breakfast Club and Shade Room belong in the same discussion whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Shade Room is really essentially a lower grade black TMZ, respectfully though, because I mean they get scooped, and that's what people want.
That's what they do.
Yeah, but Breakfast Club is a good production, and I've gone back and forth on Charlemagne. I used to think he was more of a troll, but look, the guy's he's got polish. He's great on great immediate period.
I fuck with dude.
Yeah, and he knows he's a fucking fantastic interviewer. There's a reason he ended up on major cable news networks because he draws the attention and he's a voice that people listen to in our demographic. So Charlemagne gets wind of Lakeith's post, and then he calls him. He does the whole donkey of the day thing on Breakfast Club, talking about Lakeith, and he put together this like 10-minute video, a 10-minute clip of him saying, "Look, we are not what you think we are as far as a voice in Black media. Like we are to be respected. I'm to be respected as a radio personality and a personality in general." Then he pulls out all these clips of like Lakeith acting weird as fuck in multiple interviews. Some clips when Lakeith is on Breakfast Club. Look, and let me just like quick side note. I think Lakeith's a fucking great upcoming actor. I love his career arc so far. I like the fact that he's getting recognized. I think he does great in all his roles. But man,
how did you like him in the Messiah movie? Because I know.
I loved it, man. I loved it. I loved it. It's a great role. I can understand I knew it was a tough role for him to play, and we talked about it last week. I think about him needing to get therapy because it's a great role, and he does a good job. And I've never seen him put up a flat performance. But man, like his old clips that Charlemagne was airing were like cringeworthy, man. I mean, Charlemagne asked him to explain, why he called his group the Moors, and he didn't fucking understand what to say. He was talking about this is some metaphysical 3D type shit, and then fast forward to another interview he was doing after a Netflix production came out, and he was barefoot in the fucking interview, sniffing and licking his toes. And
what the fuck? He
was on, I think it was Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel, acting weird as fuck on that. I was like, God damn, what the fuck is wrong with it? It's shit I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
Toes are finally a turnoff for Abdullah.
What's that?
Toes are finally a turnoff for Abdullah.
So look, Charlemagne was like, before you come for me, look at how fucking strange you are.
Yeah.
I respect you, Black man, and everything you're doing, but you got some shit you need to clean up in your life outside of film. And I was like, I couldn't agree more. So was it last week, Daniel Kaluuya, who was, co-stars in Judas and the Black Messiah, was interviewed by Breakfast Club, and Charlemagne, makes a snide comment about, what did he say?
He said the FBI informant role for
he's basically saying he was perfect. He looked really comfortable in that role.
Yeah.
Wow.
Daniel very respectfully put the clamps on that real quick and was like, man, still beefing. Like, he did it, and then he goes into everything Lakeith did for the role. But the I guess the cream on top for me was earlier this week, Lakeith posted a video on Instagram, I believe. He's in like his bathroom and he's holding a phone, or he's got a phone propped up on something, and he's spitting some lyrics, and he's pulling up people's faces on the phone and kind of cycling through them as he's spitting these lyrics. And then he gets to a picture of Charlemagne, and he fucking puts a gun up at his phone. Now he deleted the shit, and I'm like, why the fuck you so weird? Outside of like, what the fuck? Like, so to me, it's problematic. And one of my friends said, like, I love Lakeith, but I get worried when he's outside of like his roles, because you don't what the fuck he's gonna do. That's bad media training. I think that's bad for his brand. I wouldn't be surprised if people looking at shit now like, I would love to have him for a role. I have him in mind, but I don't know what else is going to come along with this shit after my film is made.
You always got to have PR in mind.
You need to have the right team with you to keep dumb shit. Like, the fuck is wrong with this dude? It's like anything with his heart, but he's I don't know. Something's off, man.
So at the time when Charlemagne came back and the donkey of the day, and then Lakeith Stanfield dropped a diss record, and put some animations of Charlemagne's face. I think had threatened to incite some sort of violence, or like the typical rap, I'm gonna shoot you, or when I catch you, blah 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 blah. My thoughts on Charlemagne are, I've always been a fan of him. He's not without flaws. He's part of an organization, the Breakfast Club, that at sometimes they're going to do donkey of the day. They're going to criticize people. They're going to insult people in their every move. But at the end of the day, I think, like Jamal said, he's a great interviewer. He's very self-aware. He's put out some pieces. I mean, he's done an interview with Gucci Mane and other rappers that he's able to get certain things from people that a typical interviewer or media member, can't get. So he's very skilled. He's very talented.
Well, one thing just to pop in. One thing I really respect about Charlemagne, especially, is how he has really shown people the power of therapy.
Mental health, yeah, that's one of those big
Help,
things.
and help for things that you were dealing with, making it very mainstream and digestible, which, you know, in the Black community, let's be frank, that shit was
Stigma,
very taboo,
Mhm.
very taboo. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so exactly, and you know, he wrote Black Privileges, you know, Black Privilege. He's always preaching mental health to everybody in general, but obviously the Black community, or you know, most ethnic communities have a sort of stigma against therapy about admitting you're weak, you might be weak or sensitive. So you know, like I said, he's not without flaw, but he's done a lot of great things. So Keith Stanfield, on the other hand, you know, he's really got to watch out for his brand. But I think what he's kind of not stuck in, but what he is, he's really not a known commodity in
Mhm.
Hollywood.
Mhm.
So right now he's not really dealing with the effects, I don't think, of what he would deal with if he was a bigger star, right?
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's his plan, but if he wants to get bigger than this, he's going to really have to work on that PR.
Dude,
But
that-
right now he might be comfortable being in that space. You know, he kind of reminds me of
He-
Joaquin Phoenix for a little bit, although Joaquin Phoenix is immensely talented also and does a lot of his stuff, you know, just troll.
So what we haven't been talking about, and we can talk about Charlemagne and Lakeith individually all we want, but what we're not talking about is why this whole shit even started and where it started. And it all started with Lakeith having a hot take about these Black platforms. Jamal, you alluded to it, but I don't think we really talked about what exactly was said. But I'm reading it here. And he claims that these shows, these platforms, including Breakfast Club, I quote, it's a fact that a lot of these platforms are usually or tend to be feeding grounds for negative reinforcement towards Black nonconformists, right? They bolster faux vanity and hold a, this is the key term, white supremacist scope over Black men and women, often highlighting negative attributes and downplaying mind expanding ones. All right. So I had to give that background because
yeah.
I'm with Charlemagne on this one. I totally understand why he took that jab at him again, talking about the role as the FBI informant infiltrating the Black Panther group. I totally get it off a statement like that, right?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not a Black man. I like to believe I am one.
What?
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In high school, you could convince me
Here
I
we
wasn't
go.
one, right?
I've
But here we
seen
go.
all pictures, bro.
Yeah. You seen the open, but one of the main reasons why I feel this way is because to me, the Black platform, Black platform, is something that amid all the other bullshit going on in this country, in regards to race, for Black people to be able to create a platform for themselves, for their voices,
Yeah.
and it's a platform that is explicitly predicated off of Blackness, right? And they're creating entertainment out of it and
Yeah.
jobs out of it. But for another Black man to shoot it down to that extreme,
I'm
and
gonna
to allude to slavery, or
Yeah.
that the voices are controlled by Black supremacists. I mean, again,
you know,
I'll
I
let you
definitely-
speak to it more. But this is,
Yeah.
because I actually have a question for Jamal in line with that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And where you're going and where I think Lakeith Stanfield is going
uh-huh.
is that it's kind of the same thing with certain industries of rap, right? There's two parallels. There's a parallel of Black artists making music, right? Talking about Black on Black violence, killing other Black people, but
Uh-huh.
the record label that runs that and that is part of that MO is a rich white man, right?
Right, I get that.
So,
part. Yes.
so the parallel would be a radio show that basically is constantly nitpicking and bringing other Black people. I'm not agreeing with this. I'm just saying.
do you
bringing other
think
Black people
Charlemagne?
down.
Do you think Charlemagne is influenced by any
I don't
of
think
that?
Charlemagne
overarching-
is influenced, but
Right.
his bosses, right? They know what sells, and this is what it is. So there's sensitive people out there that
Mhm.
see Black people having a show every day in which they have a donkey of the day and they shit on other Black people and they say, "Oh, brother, why are you tearing
Yeah.
us down?" I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm telling
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
we know people like this.
Yeah. So what it comes
know
down to
people
is
like
this fallacy that all Black media is supposed to be
Uplifting.
monolithic. It's supposed
Yes,
to be one
yeah.
particular lane.
Yeah.
If you want entertainment, you want gossip, go to fucking Bossip, go to Shade Room, go to Baller Alert, you know,
Yeah.
which actually does a lot of calling out of racial shit, right? It actually kind of bounces both ways. But you know, if that's what I want, that's what I fucking want. If I want
That's
some
what you
fast-
want, man. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
and if I want something a little different, I'll go to the Griot. I'll go read
Yeah.
Ta-Nehisi Coates' essays. So this here's the thing, and this is not unique to the Black community, but if you have a problem with a particular, in this case, media outlet, you don't have to step on one to uplift the other. I mean,
Yeah.
we are not a homogeneous species, man. We like different things for different,
Mhm.
different outlets. That's what I have a problem with the Keith approaching it. Like, you know, we need a space for Black. Well, fucking go create a space. It would
Yeah,
have
go
been
create
easier to go create a space.
Be the change you want to see in
Go
the
do an
world.
op-ed for somebody else. Go start your own platform.
Right.
But let people enjoy the things that they like in this particular area. That doesn't mean that's all they care about. And I don't, you know, I disagree that a lot of this shit is, you know, stepping on Black people. No, it's given. It's a media.
It's not.
It's
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
And for Lakeith Stanfield to post that video immediately shows his
it's
hypocrisy
just,
in the
it's
situation.
bullshit.
Right?
Yeah, it's
completely.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're promoting more stereotypes.
It's unfair. It's hurtful, and like Charlamagne said himself, like you can critique content, critique it all you want, say it's foolish, say it's ignorant, say it's dumb, but to put it down to the point where you say that, you know, all this fancy shit, it provides negative reinforcement to the Black nonconformists. Come on, dog.
Sounds like me in 11th grade when I read my first fucking, you know, old Black literature. Shut the fuck up. Like you don't sound as distinguished as you think you do. It's just dumb. But he's a tough dude, so I wish him the best.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see him in the next movie.
Exactly.
Go on Breakfast Club, Lakeith.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and that's my last point. Like, there's two groups of people, right? And Jamal, like you said, at one point, you might have, when you're younger, you have this kind of idea that like this person is saying something I don't agree with, so I'm just gonna shit on them, or I'm gonna have this mentality. And then when you kind of grow older, you're like, let's have a conversation, right? So come on the show, you know, air out your grievances and have a discourse, right? I mean, it's good PR. You get it off your chest, and everybody kind of moves on. So
yeah. No, I just feel Charlamagne. He called him out by name. Made some
Charlamagne
crazy.
Doesn't give a fuck either. He's fucking.
Yeah,
he's straight up
doesn't.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Anybody who's seen that Beanie Siegel interview knows he don't give a fuck.
See, I haven't even seen that, but I'm.
You haven't seen it?
I don't know.
Yo, watch that. He's basically with Beanie Siegel, and he basically just tells him on air that what he did, what he's done, is phony as fuck. And Beanie Siegel is just like, "Bro, do you know who I am?" Right. Attempted murder at the height of my career. Do you know who I am? And then Charlamagne just started clapping in his face. And Joe was insane. Like, shit was about to pop off, and Beanie Siegel didn't do anything, and Charlamagne didn't give a fuck. He wasn't scared. Like, it was crazy.
Keep rolling, Black media. We need this shit. We need the content.
Yeah.
Goddamn. All right, man. We gotta get up out of here. Speaking of not giving a fucks, the Wizards are on a 5-game winning streak. So all you fans out there that are praying for a tank or for Scott Brooks's head, these motherfuckers are winning now. We're gonna go ahead and get into open gym and talk about some basketball. So yes, sir, the Wizards are live in effect right now, down by 22. We can go ahead and turn that shit off. Keep listening to the Participation Trophy podcast.
I didn't want to check the score.
Yeah, no, we gonna leave it at that. This is where you can sim to the end.
Who are
and
they
get your
playing
DC
right now?
points. And get
Who are
your
they playing
DC
right
points
now?
on my career.
The Clippers. It's
They're playing the Clippers.
back to back in LA.
Back to back in LA.
I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting to win tonight.
Isak Bonga just hit a 3. Okay, catch and shoot. Get them badges up. The Wizards have won 5 straight.
You've earned 3-point shooting badge in a blowout.
Love that shit. Hey, the Wizards, yeah, we got a lot of badges on this 5-game winning streak. They beat the Lakers last night. They were down by 17 at one point.
Yep, in
Came
third
back and won
quarter.
that game. Yeah, so Russell Westbrook coming back to form.
You saying this?
Beal
Telling me
saying
there's
there's
a
a chance. Hey, I tweeted out earlier this week on Hoop District. The Wizards are what, 3 or 4 games out of the loss column, and for the 3 seed,
Right.
for the 3 seed, Jamal.
Wow.
It is still very bunched up, but at the same time, you got to remember in the loss column, they have lots of games still to make up.
Hey,
so
we getting 4 games at the cap this year. Come on, let's go. We don't get that 4 seed. Get swept by the Pacers.
Oh my god.
4 seed and losing to, oh man, that would be.
Yo, Sabonis gonna have a
catastrophe.
ball against Robin Lopez,
Yeah.
man. Shit. So yeah, that's what's going on right now. Neil, what's the insights?
Yeah, so obviously they've dealt with their fair share and more than their fair share of hardship so far this season. So now they're finally a few weeks removed from getting everybody back who's going to be available for the rest of the season, and they're getting in better conditioning, and they went on this nice little run. But I would caution, and we're seeing this assuming they don't come back from, down 17 at the Clippers nearing halftime, they're still not that same team that people think are going to make noise in the Eastern Conference. All of their 5 wins, they were kind of in an advantageous place. They beat Boston when Jason Tatum had his worst game of the season. They beat the Rockets, when they literally had 4 rotation guys out. They beat Denver on the second night of a back-to-back. They beat Portland, they had a bad shooting night. They still don't have Nurkic or McCollum. They beat the Lakers. It was impressive, but still, they don't have Dennis Schroeder or Anthony Davis. That's going to be a different game if they're at full.
So I'm
strength.
gonna counter your take right now, okay?
Mhm.
Because while they're getting these wins, and some of it's luck, some of it's at the right place, at the right time, but on the Wizards side, right? Everyone that we thought was gonna play a certain type of way is playing that type of way now, right? So I mentioned Russ coming back to form.
But let me say one thing real quick. On this 5-game winning streak, Russ's shooting slash right now is 44, 0, and 48.
I saw that.
48% from the free throw line.
But there's an aggression that
For
is
sure.
refound in Russ, right? And that's what we're looking for, right? That energy. Beal is Beal. We're going to talk about him a little bit later. Bertans starting to hit some shots, and Rui's been balling. This is my core
Defensively as
4.
well.
This is my Wizards core 4 right here. I love this lineup. This 4-man lineup. I can only imagine what it would be like with Thomas Bryant instead of Robin Lopez or whoever else is filling the spot. But that 4 right there, when they are in sync and playing at the level that we expect them to, right?
Sure.
I'm not saying off the rails, but at the level we expect them to, right? Russ bringing energy. Beal he's the best shooting guard of all time, right? Bertans hitting threes, right? Hitting threes, doing what he has to do, right? Hitting those open shots. They're gonna find it for him.
He's been very streaky so far. He's had those couple hot games, but then he also had
I get it.
some down games.
But as a shooter,
it fluctuates.
Right. You get it. But Rui, right? And we saw him play very well defensively against LeBron last night.
That's the key.
He's got these things on offense. The post moves, the switching off with the layup, hitting the jumper, fadeaway. Like he's got a little bit of everything. Yeah. He's flexible. He's young. If these 4 guys keep playing the way they are, and the pieces around them play as well as they need to, I think in spite of Scott Brooks, they'll be able to make some noise. And with an East that's only going to have 3 or 4 teams over 500. Come on.
Yeah.
I get it. So
just to play devil's advocate though, like I don't think Bradley Beal doesn't give a shit about the play-in game. If they get into the play-in game, and sure, maybe if they win that to get a first-round series, they're getting beat in the first round to Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, whoever they face. A first-round exit still isn't good enough.
It's not.
So, there's still that, okay, well, what really is success for the team and what is success for Bradley Beal, and how does that all engage moving forward?
That's the real question. Yeah.
It's a question about what the team's vision is, what the outlook is, what the plan is, right? The team is obviously, as long as they keep Russ and Beal on the roster and we don't hear otherwise, they're not going to be in rebuild mode, right? Not when you got 80 million strapped to 2 players, right? You can't move Westbrook because who the fuck is going to take that guaranteed 85 million, right? He's due 48. Exactly. He's due 48 million on the last year, his player option. You don't think a fucking 35-year-old is not going to take a $48 million player option on the last year of his fucking deal?
When he's 35?
So he's not going anywhere, right? So Beal has a player option too, but he'll only be 29. He's probably bouncing. In a perfect world, you keep Beal and you still make it work with who you have around him right now.
And I want to fuck Angie Dickinson. Let's see who gets lucky first.
I get it. Yes. Angie Dickinson is not walking through that fucking door. All right. I get it. But what are you going to do? What are we doing? Some fans are pleading for a tank, right? For a high draft pick, right?
That was me for a while. Yeah. That was me. I see every day.
Yeah.
I like that they're winning, but my hopes of getting Jonathan Kuminga slip further and further away with each win. I will say, though, that I'm trying to think about what the team is going to need for next season and what's going to be available. Let's say they slip into a low playoff seed or, end of the lottery, whatever. We need a big so bad, and I'm just very afraid that we're going to be on the outside. If I see Robin Lopez getting fed the ball, 8 times in the quarter, I'm going to
hook shot.
And he's been good for what he is, but man, the team's lack of rim protection has been glaring the last few games. I mean, Harrell almost single-handedly carried the team for like.
And shout out Frank Vogel for not playing Montrezl Harrell for whatever reason in overtime and in crunch time. Montrezl Harrell was killing the Wizards, and he was on the bench for the most important minutes of the game. Another reason why I'm saying
not gonna
the Wizards
happen.
were being gifted.
It's not gonna happen.
What, a rim protector? Yeah, we've been looking for that for 10 years, right?
The Wizards are cash strapped, is what I'm saying, right? And they still have a good 9 or 10 players, including Wall and Beal, under contract next year, right? So what I'm saying is there is no perfect scenario. You got to move Beal because you can't move Russ, right? If you want assets, you're gonna have to move. The only other option is you let these two players play their contracts out, right? You draft a point guard for the future now, Jared Cutler, whoever it is, right?
Is that even a basketball player?
I've been doing French. I've been doing franchise mode.
Oh yeah.
But this is why I got these takes, because you're cash strapped until 2023.
Correct.
Right. What are you gonna do with Russ and Beal on the books with the rest of the roster, right? So
the only flexibility is just hoping to do well with a draft pick. I mean, that's
do well with a draft pick, but and there you go. How do you get out of this situation? You bring in a good coach, a developmental coach, a guy who knows the game on the floor, X's and O's, not just I used to love the term players coach. I used to love it, right?
Spoon bar. Let's go, boys.
Yeah, exactly, right?
But let's be very real. That was one of the reasons why Scott Brooks was hired.
He was hired for
a players coach.
The dichotomy versus what Whitman was that, okay, Scott Brooks is going to have a better relationship with his players.
With the players. That was it. That was it. I covered that shit. That's all it was. It was at a time where Beal and Wall, the fallout was strong, at least in the national media. And there might have been some stuff going on in real life. And the whole KD shit, there was different factors to why Scott Brooks was brought in, but it was primarily because he could have been like a glue guy in the locker room. There was a lot of the Wizards kept on signing guys like Emeka Okafor and Trevor Ariza and all these fucking locker room glue guys because they felt like the team was too immature otherwise, right? So they thought Scott Brooks was going to clean some of that shit up, and maybe he did. But we saw the discrepancy on the floor, right? Especially on the defensive end. We started fantasizing about Whitman and shit when Scott Brooks was hired. Like, who would have fucking thought?
Wait.
Oh, transition offense, man. Oh.
Nah, he's thinking about Whitman's toes he saw in the locker room once.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
I'm cutting that shit out.
That's fucking weird.
Neil, what do you think? I mean, let's say we end up lottery. What is the most glaring, I guess, hole in the roster right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that we could plug in, because we're. I mean, we got. God, I was talking the other day about how many wings are just not in the rotation anymore. I mean, Jerome Robinson, I never thought he was good, but Troy has just about disappeared.
Right.
Troy Brown is 21 years old, man. At your disposal. What the fuck you doing?
And we have to face the fact that Troy now is, frankly, a bad draft pick. Another one.
Is he though? What do we know about Troy? What you know about Troy that I don't?
From the definition of, is he actually playing, man? He's not playing.
He's not playing, though. I just don't feel like I don't think they've ever really figured out a role for Troy Brown.
Correct, because they don't play him at point guard.
They don't.
Well, the point guard experiment didn't. It's a small sample size, but it didn't look good when he played.
I remember.
Well, if you're only talking about the bubble, you got to realize that the bubble team had what? No Bertans, no Beal. That bubble team was trash. He had nothing to work with.
True.
Yeah.
Is he a draft pick because he has not established himself as anything that he does extremely well? So I think from that sense, he frankly is technically a bad draft pick. But what do you think they need the most? If you're thinking, draft pick, you go big, they go wing. I mean, what do they need right now? What are they going to need?
Yeah, so obviously they've lacked defense for the entire 5 years of Scott Brooks. We have no clue what the makeup of this team in the coaching department or front office department is going to look like, come this summer, when there are probably going to be a lot of potential moves made and changes made. They've never had a rim protector, really. And, that's hurt them on defense because they don't have somebody who can Rudy Gobert erase the mistake of a perimeter ball defender.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't know how much big rim protection there is in this draft. There are a lot of wings. And, they've never really had a lockdown wing defender either. They think Rui can maybe turn into that kind of player. But you can never have enough of those kinds of players.
Right.
And today's NBA, with everything moving away from bigs, I would still look, obviously best player available. But if you can get that 3-and-D guy that they've really never had for a long time, they hope Denny could maybe be that kind of player. But, you just got to keep on stockpiling all of these guys who you think, okay, good player. Back-to-back drafts, they've had good players. Rui and Denny are, I would say, the best part of what Tommy Shepard has provided to the organization in his short tenure here. He's had some questionable, choices, but you just got to keep stockpiling those kind of athletic wings that can play defense. The offensive game will come with their development. But who knows how everything's going to look, in 4 months from now.
That's the wild card because we could see basically a whole different front office.
Right.
Yep.
All right. What else is going on around the league? DeMarcus Cousins is a free agent again.
Short-lived tenure with John Wall.
Wizards fans not so hot about signing him anymore. At least we got what we wanted.
Yeah.
Wall and Cousins on the same NBA team.
It was nobody really
Wizards.
explained why he got moved, and then I heard a story about him just being disappointed with playing behind Christian Wood.
That's what I heard as well.
I guess that makes more sense.
We never really saw like climax DeMarcus, did we? Like climax Cousins, like
I think the closest we
at
got
his peak.
When he was paired up for that short time with AD.
With AD,
Right,
Is
in
that
New
it?
Orleans.
Yeah,
That was the last time we've seen, because they were
Then he
tearing
got-
shit
he
up
had-
that
He
year.
had 2 injuries after that, right?
2 or 3.
Motherfuckers were
He
running
got
pick and
hurt
rolls
with New
for each other,
Orleans.
man.
he
Imagine
got-
that shit.
Because he got hurt with New Orleans, hurt with LA, and then hurt with Golden State. Like, that's just a gauntlet of terrible luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, his whole
that man had
style
the-
is kind of out of play, and then had the injuries. I think the best has come and gone.
So
Yeah,
people basically penciled him in with the Lakers because Lakers waived Quinn Cook last night or this morning, something like that. But I haven't seen any movement on that. I assume that's a favorite location for him. But he wants a role, and you go to a contender, I don't think he'll be doing much more that he's done in Houston. So
But that incentive of, possibly much like
Winning a
higher
ring.
likelihood of, getting a championship is you'll take whatever role you fucking get.
Yeah, because if he's on a short deal, he wins a title, he plays well in spot duty, someone else is going to waste some money on him.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, teams are going to realize his role is just kind of a spot filler,
Minute filler.
minute filler.
Yeah, he can be a
Kinda guy.
bully for someone's team.
Always a great post game interview. Always great. Especially when he was in
believe it.
Sacramento. Oh, it was great.
I don't
Russell
think I've
Westbrook,
seen any of his
great.
post game interviews.
Russell Westbrook, great. Pretty good.
Russell Westbrook is a
Um,
terrible interview.
I'm talking about in terms of like
I'm-
shitting on
Got a story to tell?
reporters.
Well, yeah. I am the person he would shit on, so I'm obviously very biased. So
I mean, he's saying it from the perspective of you always got some replay value and some reaction.
I mean,
yeah.
Russell Westbrook had an ongoing thing with one of the local reporters.
That Barry dude.
I'm going to say Barry Tremmel.
right, and Chase
That's
Hughes
good.
named me as the odds-on favorite to be the DC version of Barry Trumbull, and so I was like, oh man, I need to cool it.
I
with this.
actually tweeted like a semi-poll about that, saying who's going to be DC's Barry Tremmel. So you got that vote. Not surprised.
So basically,
Wow.
Russell Westbrook's going to drop a tweet talking about there's certain organizations that are anti-black and run by the white supremacist mentality.
Yeah, there you go.
Tearing down black people. Neil.
Oh my, no.
I mean, those kind of players, if you criticize them, they're not going to be happy about it, right? And they're prone to criticism because of their style of play and etc.
How many times has Russell Wilson shit on you? Russell Westbrook shit on you?
I would say I've had about 3 negative experiences with him so far in
Really?
the 3 months that he's been
Fantastic,
here.
man. It raises our brand. It's good. It's good for the brand.
Yeah, next time you ask a question, Neil the Law Participation Trophy Podcast.
For sure, I'll have to.
Look, my favorite post game interview now is Anthony Edwards. This motherfucker is hilarious, dude.
Mhm.
Is he? Is he?
Oh
funny?
my god, you got to watch this shit. Like,
Oh,
I
okay.
saw a clip before we started tonight. And, he was listening to a guy it's over I think a Zoom or phone call, video chat or something like that. And it's a reporter talking, and Edwards kind of zoned out. And he's like, "Hey man, where you from?" Dude's like, I'm from Ireland. He's like, "Oh, okay, I like your voice." He's like, "I didn't hear anything you said. Can you just repeat that?"
Oh my God.
I love it.
Because he's a fucking kid, man. He's like, you forget how young these dudes are.
Right.
Everything he says is funny as shit. He's
I
like,
gotta check that out. Anthony Edwards, he didn't make the All-Star reserves this year, did he? I know, I know some other guys got snubbed, but the reserves were announced today. AD is on there, PG's on there, Rudy Gobert, Damian Lillard is on that shit. Devin Booker, John Morant are the honorable mentions.
So
each spot, right? Some of them get plugged in there.
Essentially, right. So real quick, we can run through who the actual reserves were. In the West, you have Chris Paul, which was over essentially Devin Booker, maybe. Paul George, Damian Lillard probably should have been a starter, but obviously Luka's going to win that fan vote tiebreaker. Donovan Mitchell, balling. Rudy Gobert on the best team in the West right now. Understandable. Zion makes it in. Anthony Davis. And then in the East, you have Harden. Julius Randle makes it for the Knicks.
Good for him, man.
Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown make it 2 representatives from Boston, even though they're under 500 currently. Zach LaVine balling for Chicago. He was the player that Beal was last year that didn't get voted in by the coaches.
Yeah.
And then you got Ben Simmons and Nikola Vucevic to round out the East reserves.
I'm glad Julius Randle became somebody more than just like a bomb ass 2K player. Some players that are average
that
as shit in
ISO
real
player,
life, but just on fire in 2K. Julius Randle never gets less than 18 rebounds.
That is a good. We should pencil that in for a future segment.
Yeah,
there's some players that will fuck you up. Every year 2K, and you're like,
right. I'm gonna give another sneak. Hassan Whiteside.
Yes,
put Hassan Whiteside on every
he's unstoppable in 2K.
He's unstoppable.
Yo, you can have a dude about to dunk the ball, and Hassan Whiteside will be a half court, and if you jump with the motherfucker, he'll block the shot
every fucking time.
That wingspan takes the whole 94 feet.
Franchises he gets Whiteside, because Whiteside would just own shit. Like,
he'll fuck shit up.
Yeah. And his expected salary stays over 100 million every time he's a free agent too. Like, what the fuck?
We're gonna decline your offer and shit. Like, fuck, do you know who you are, motherfucker?
Yeah. Hassan Whiteside has no interest in your $8 million a year salary, man. Get the fuck out of here. We talking 5 years. We talking about max contracts. He's 33 in this shit.
Yeah.
Like, bitch,
Hassan,
I'm doing you a favor.
Hassan, how do you feel about $8 million? I don't know. I want 85 million. Press A if you want to accept 85 million. Press B if you want a counteroffer.
Decided to sign with the Heat. Like,
decided to sign with the Heat for 12 million.
Abdullah's out here dying.
Because that shit is
that was good. That was good. Yeah, this should definitely.
That 2K shit. I wasn't even prepared for that shit. Like, I'm just pressing A. I'm button mashing A right the whole time.
Right.
And then I found out that I shot on an interview on a radio thing, and I have to work on my image or some shit later. I'm like, what the hell's going on, man?
You accidentally give Jan Mahimi $64 million or something.
Yeah, it's all some dumb shit.
That shit makes you learn real quick.
Yeah.
The whole process, the moratorium and shit.
I've been all season with like mad money. Like, I'm gonna just fucking revamp my squad, and everybody fucking turns your offers down.
Yeah.
Like, you sign fucking Tim Frazier for 8 years.
Yeah. Hey, you gonna sign his qualifying offer? Fuck, man.
I don't know about my future with this team anymore.
Oh shit, man. All right. Ryan Saunders got fired. That's in the news.
I don't know. That whole thing just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because literally they fired him Sunday, and moments later they said, yes, we're reaching a agreement with the Toronto Raptors assistant, Chris Finch.
You have to be a stupid motherfucker to get fired on your day off.
It wasn't even his day off. I'm pretty sure he coached that day, and he got fired later that night on Sunday.
Let the soundbite marinate a little bit, man. Come on, dog.
So, when was the last time that happened? Wasn't it? Didn't Ty Lue get hired like that?
Ty Lue,
But David Blatt got fired.
Yeah, they already
that motherfucker was on the payroll 3 weeks in advance, man.
Saunders, I was a little surprised at, because I thought, I still struggle to figure out why Minnesota's so terrible. I know they don't really have a strong roster, but when you look at like young, like good anchors on their roster, they have something. They're not 7 wins bad, which is what is stunning to me. But I thought the Saunders name would kind of keep him until maybe the season ended, and then they kind of let him walk away. They kind of quote unquote mutually part ways. But no, they got him out of there fast.
And they got him out of fast, and they just immediately moved on to this other guy, Chris Finch. Like they essentially said, "Oh, okay, yeah, we don't care about this anymore. We know exactly who we want for the future." Like this is unprecedented that an assistant coach of another team is joining to become the head coach of another
so
team.
he was employed by the Raptors at the time of Saunders' firing, and they just
they backdoored that whole interview process.
Oh, has that ever even happened? Has that ever happened?
Not that I know of.
I can't think of anything outside the Luther.
I can't either.
Yeah.
But for what it's worth, I believe Chris Finch did interview for the Timberwolves job in 2019 when Saunders got it. Right. So they already had gone through some interview process previously.
Yeah. Okay.
The one thing
have his resume on file.
Clearly,
but the Black Lou situation is because Lou is an internal hire, so
yeah, that is different. You're right.
Yeah, it's different. So
yeah,
there's always conversations though. There's always conversations. They already have a plan. They know they're getting
right. But for a coach from another team to join another team mid-season, I think that's a little unprecedented. But finish your point, Neil.
So yeah, the one thing I was just going to say is that they had this guy David Vanterpool, who was the assistant head coach to Ryan Saunders in Minnesota. They could have very easily named him the interim, brought in Chris Finch at the end of the season, but for whatever reason, they didn't go that route. And what I learned recently, which I just thought was amusing to me, David Vanterpool went to Montgomery Blair High School in Silver Spring, where I went. And I was like, oh shit, they dissed my alum over here. Oh, that's fucked up.
David Vanterpool sounds like some serial killer who kills like 18-year-old girls on vacation or some shit.
Yeah.
I was watching A Time to Kill the other night.
David Vandersnout, whatever that dude's name is.
I was watching.
Yeah.
I was watching A Time to Kill the other night. Sandra Bullock was bad as shit in that joint, and Marion was like, "Yo, yeah, she's from Annandale. Is she local?" Yeah, it made her hotter for some reason. I was like, "Oh shit, she's from Annandale."
Oh yeah. Just imagining her just driving around Fairfax.
Yeah, you see her at the Giant or some shit like.
Yeah, Cold Stone, some shit.
Oh.
That's real normcore and shit.
Yeah.
The Cold Stone off of Burke Lake Center. Yeah, okay.
Dang, she was born in Arlington, Virginia. Ooh,
yeah. See, does that make her hotter or something? Like
it does make her hotter.
Shit, I already thought she was hotter, but it does make her hotter.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
A little local broad. All right. Well, by the time we talk about Open Gym and the Wizards next week, maybe they'll start another win streak because they ain't winning tonight. But we'll go ahead and wrap up Open Gym, get into theater. We got some TV for y'all to watch.
Sylvester Stallone lived in Silver Spring, Maryland. Now I'm like going down a rabbit
Good
hole.
save.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, now I'm happy to rep Silver Spring all day, every day.
Silver Spring is DC. Like Laurel, and that's like the transition part. Like for people.
Wait, did Sylvester Stallone move from Florida, from Miami to Silver Spring?
No, he was there from 1952 to 63. So he
spent some time here. Okay.
Silver Spring?
Lena Horne, DC. That's crazy. All right, sorry.
So Sylvester Stallone, I don't think he's in any of these movies we're going to talk about tonight. Sound of Metal and Nomadland on the docket.
Oh,
Jamal, take it away.
Let's go. Sound of Metal. I have a Facebook friend who is a certified critic for Rotten Tomatoes. Pretty interesting.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
dope gig.
So whenever he drops movie suggestions, I got my notes app out and I'm jotting it down. So Sound of Metal is a movie. I think it came out in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. It's not new, but it just hit Amazon Prime Video. It's about a guy named Ruben, played by Riz Ahmed, and a woman named Lou, played by Olivia Cook. They are in a two-piece metal band. And, they kind of live the lifestyle. They're on the road. Movie picks up with them basically living out of a trailer, out of an RV, kind of traveling around, doing like really small venue shows. Ruben's a drummer. Lou is the guitar player and vocalist. One day they're out at a record store, getting ready, doing some show prep stuff, and Ruben starts losing his hearing. Like it just drops out. His shit starts ringing. And
some
like,
Foxy Brown shit.
Yeah. He's like kind of, touching at it. He's, looking real stunned. And over time, the next couple of days, like he can't hear anything. So he manages to go to a doctor. He's gone to first he's thinking it's like he's congested or something like that, and he ends up going to a doctor. Doctor does some tests on him, said your hearing is like at 24% and diminishing even further. So Lou's like, I mean, Ruben's like, fuck that. Like we have to keep playing shows. Very manly thing. Like, we'll just do the count. Like I'll follow your motions, and we can still play, and we'll just do it. And Lou is like, typical woman that cares. Keep man from doing dangerous shit. It's like, no, you can't do that. So she talks through their manager, and she eventually finds a place for them for Ruben to go, which is basically essentially a home for past drug addicts. Ruben used to be on heroin and some other shit. So a place where past drug addicts who are dealing with deafness go. It's off the grid. It's like think of like an old, like kind of classic home back in the woods somewhere. You are to be basically cut off from the outside world, and the intent is to help you transition to basically what's going to be your new lifestyle, your lifestyle without hearing. So having to learn sign language, having to, learn how to connect with other people that have been through similar experiences. The guy that plays the guy who runs the house, I'm drawing a blank on his name. He was really good too. He was trying to instill within Ruben, like, look, this is your new lifestyle. We're dealing with the mental aspect of it, not necessarily a quick fix for what you're trying to get to. And Ruben throughout the entire process was like trying to get quotes on ocular implants and trying to figure, but hearing implants, and trying to figure out how to quickly resolve this so he can get back right on the road and get back to his lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, at some point, he's staying in the house, but he's kind of got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. He takes a while to get acclimated to it. He's starting to make connections, but eventually he sells all of his band equipment, like everything, his drum set, like all that shit. And he gets just enough money to go get the hearing implants. And, all the while he's trying to keep in contact with his girlfriend, but, she's really off somewhere else, and, their, communication is kind of fading out. So he gets the implants, and he's in the recovery session of the after the surgery, and he does the first test where they calibrate the hearing implants to the outside world, and it sounds like shit. It sounds all distorted. The voices aren't clear. The sounds are like really uneven.
Basically, my microphone during audio check.
It's terrible, bro. Really, really bad. So, so he's listening to the doctor, and the doctor's like, well, you can come back in like a month and we'll kind of recalibrate again, but this is what you have for now. Like, this is what you paid for.
Wow.
Kind of just got to move forward with it. And on top of that, he goes back to the home that he was staying in. He's telling the leader there, like, look, thanks for everything, but I spent all my money. I got these hearing implants. And the guy kicked him out. He was like, this house is not for people wanting to get away from this lifestyle. It's about embracing it and learning to live with it, because we invested in you and, trying to help you better understand yourself, but you fled from that. You have to basically pack your shit and leave. So here he is with these terrible hearing implant. He's homeless now. The RV's gone. All his equipment's gone. He has just enough money to get to France, where Lou is from, his bandmate. And she's living with her parents, who have a lot of money, by the way, in France. And the movie kind of closes with, him. They don't get the band back together. His hearing doesn't improve, and that's kind of what he's left with. So the moral of the story is basically there's no quick fixes to anything. You have these kind of major issues in your life. You have to kind of learn how to deal with them and move forward. But it was I would say it was one of the best movies I've seen in the last couple of years. It was really really good. A good watch. It's not super long. Very easy to follow. Riz Ahmed was just fucking incredible. I mean, just really, it's my first time seeing him on film, and I'm definitely looking for some more of his stuff. But he was really, really fucking good. The movie was great, so I give it an A.
So was it more about a movie about a guy who was dealing with this like incredible situation and just getting frantic and his reaction and response to it?
Yeah. It was about, again, his entire life. You can tell post addiction, his entire life had been music and the band and playing.
Yeah.
And, he wasn't really wrapped up in, an extravagant life. Like, they weren't making a lot of money. It's a 2-piece band. They're probably on a shoestring budget, but he loved playing music, and he loved his relationship with Lou and and the band and their output. And when that got taken away from him, it wasn't about reveling in the moment and learning to appreciate this new stuff and learning to live with this new lifestyle. It was always what's the quickest fix for me to get back to where we were?
Yeah.
How can I get this money together real quick? He was, he went to the pharmacy and the guy was telling him, you need to write no notes, like you need to go see a doctor. He was like, well,
Yeah.
how much does this cost? Okay, I got it. How much is it? 20,000. I come up with that. Like, how soon can I get the surgery done? The lady's like, slow the fuck down. Like,
Right.
you have a lot of stuff to work through first before you get back to where you think you might be. So yeah, it was a dope ass movie, man. Highly recommend it.
That's definitely an interesting human perspective to look at, in a time where you're dealing with something like that and something gets taken away. Like, it doesn't even have to be about the money, right, or about the fame, but it's just that passion being taken away from you, being able to listen to music, play music, hear music.
Yeah.
I think about that shit all the time. Some, like, how would I react to it? And I feel real touched right now because I'd probably be frantic and all out of sorts.
It was a harrowing movie, and I'm telling you,
yeah,
having grown up, I mean, I grew up in the fucking Walkman and Discman era and blasting
yeah,
time, and everybody's parents just like, you need to turn that shit down, or you're fucking, you might lose your hearing. I'm like, fuck that shit. Yeah, so it's riveting, man. Just and the way they play around with the audio and the sound effects and the movie to kind of put you right in his place is great. It's really good.
So where can we watch this?
Amazon Prime Video. Prime Video.
It's on Prime Video. Okay, so this one's on Prime Video.
Prime Video.
Nomadland, which is the next movie we're going to get into. That's on Hulu.
Yes.
Another motion picture, another movie.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
So Nomadland is I think it's going to make some Oscar lists. I would expect possibly Best Picture and maybe Best Leading Actress for
like that.
Yeah, it's got one of those feels to it. This is also, it made Barack Obama's list for best movies of 2020. So I can see it's gonna get some nods because it has that type of gravitas to it. So this movie starring Frances McDormand, who was most recently known for her big role in, I think it's called Three Billboards Outside of
Missouri.
Yeah. So she's starring a woman named Fern, who used to work for this big kind of manufacturing plant in Nevada called Empire. And Empire went out of business. And it sounds like they had a really good, almost compound setup because they had the big business, which was very big in the area. They had housing there, they had leisure, like all types of stuff. So this all kind of follows the 2008 financial crisis. So the business goes belly up. A lot of people, everybody essentially there loses their job, and the so much business is wiped out. They had a separate zip code for their plant in that area. They wiped the zip code out too, so everybody like lost shit, right?
All right.
So the movie follows Fern working essentially short-term jobs all over the country. Well, mostly in the Midwest, but we sort of see her start off in working at Amazon for a few months. She works groundskeeping at like a trailer park. She works in a restaurant. She's in South Dakota. She's in Nevada. She's in Nebraska. She's all over the place. And throughout the way, she doesn't have a home. She's traveling through. She's living out of it. First an RV, and then eventually a van. And she's going around the country meeting these different people. Some kind of travel with her. But she's learning to live among people who are equally poor and desolate, but are learning to, kind of make do with what they have. So people literally shitting in buckets and like throwing the shit out their car and like, selling crafts that they make by hand and just like the lowest of the low, right? So there's not much plot to it. That's really the whole movie, is just watching Fern move around through the way she loses people that she's made connections with. As a woman that that had cancer, that really kind of insinuated that she just wanted to, she's lived 75 years. She's had a good life. She just wants to pass away. Some other she has kind of a love interest in it. But throughout the way, she loses people, but she never, I guess, makes enough to get on her feet to the point where she can establish kind of put her feet in firmly somewhere else. So it's a tough watch. I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. It's to see people in that sort of condition, to see to think about that this is the reality for a lot of people who never again recovered from the financial crisis. It's tough to kind of tough to watch.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
But it's kind of offset with there's some kind of beautiful scenes with Fern traveling around through the Midwest and kind of getting in touch with the land and like really kind of putting her feet on the earth and really appreciating the very basics that she does have, because that's really what's important to her in the long run. Is just like, you know, her own personal health and, you know, her connection with the few people that she knows. So again, kind of a tough watch, but I would think if you are a fan of watching movies that are going to be up for certain awards, which I fully expect this would be, you can probably check it out. So I give it a B.
Good shit. What time do you usually watch your movies? Like, do you put the kids to bed and just
Oh, here we go.
what's the process like?
Prime
You-
watch time is right around dinner. So I try not to watch movies when the kids are here because it's just not feasible.
Right. No, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, right around dinner, I can sneak some shit in. That's when I'm usually watching stuff on my DVR.
What is black dinner time? Because I got to compare it to brown dinner time. Brown dinner time is like 8:30.
It's funny you mentioned that because I switched my diet up at the beginning of the year. So I eat a lot lighter than I used to. So I'm eating dinner early as fuck now. So I'm eating dinner
It's like-
like 5-6 o'clock.
Oh, you got a white supremacist scope on your dinner, man.
I got the supper.
Yeah,
That's
a
a
early
serial
bird
killer
special.
dinner time.
the white man controlling what time we eat.
Yeah, bro. But, you know, sometimes I might sneak some shit in increments over the course of the workday. You know, laptop here, iPad here. You know, you got
Yeah, okay.
flexible.
Oh, I didn't know if you were talking about your dinner or the movie. Like, you know.
I personally, I could not do increments. That's crazy. I always like to, even episodes. I was like, all right, I need to finish this episode before
It's not my preference, but sometimes you gotta.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
I end up doing that
Yeah.
with movies. Episodes, I'll have to finish the episode, but movies, sometimes lately, I'm not able to finish the whole thing, and I gotta keep it for the next day. And then Prime rental is 48 hours, so I gotta scramble to finish the shit.
Yeah, like Neil finishes his juice box like 15 minutes into the episode. He's already got to pee. Like, fuck, gotta wait
Well,
15 minutes.
Neil, my man, finished
Oh,
Cobra
my man.
Kai in a week.
Oh shit! Okay.
in 3 days, from Friday to
Three-
Sunday, I just
three
fucking crushed that
days.
shit.
Whole series today, or just one?
You
of the-
could you could have
All
just let me
3
get that juice
seasons.
box joke off, you know,
Yeah.
like fully. You know what I mean? Like
Hey, it better be Capri Sun though.
Caprice.
No Sunny D.
Nah, man. We
Oh,
only
the
drink-
Sunny D, the California
Yeah.
one.
We
Ooh.
only got honest drinks up in here, man.
Yeah.
Honest.
Neil finished all 3 seasons, 3 days.
Them honest just
Honest
yo,
drink,
them yo, that's like a
4%
kids.
sugar.
Yeah, it's kids Gatorade, man. Kids Gatorade G2 what is it? Gatorade Zero shit. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Light blue Gatorade. That's all you gotta drink.
The Mortal Kombat trailer dropped recently. That show was good.
It looks sick.
Looks like the movie's kind of revolving around Sub-Zero, which I'm totally cool with.
Yeah.
But that shit looks graphic, looks good. Who else saw it? Who?
I watched it like 5 times, man.
Yeah.
I've seen it once.
Yeah.
Is there more than one trailer, or is there only one trailer right now?
I think it's only one right now. It's a
Right.
long trailer though. It's like 3 minutes long, right?
Yeah.
It's super long,
yeah.
but I still, yeah, I've always been. You ever see these trailers, and they're usually for really bad movies where it feels like they show the whole fucking movie. I swear.
Which is what they-
Yeah, but in that one, I felt like maybe there was still something I didn't see. You know what I mean? But like,
yeah,
it's
I
usually,
think they were trying to creep in all the characters that were going to be on the
Yeah.
on the movie. So
It's a
Yeah,
big
so-
action movie too. I would expect that's just probably well over 2 hours long. I would think.
Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, I think the cast is great. I'm not going to run through it right now, but it's a lot of names, well-known names,
Yeah.
from within a smaller community of like Asian actors or Korean actors.
Yeah.
I know. I've seen Mortal Kombat 2, and that's obviously the movie everybody was super disappointed with. I don't know if anybody here has seen it, Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
it's been a while.
And rewatching the first one, I still love that movie. I think for what it is, it's great for what it is.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping they're able to blend some of that, because that movie had some good comedic timing. I had some sort of humor. This movie looks a little darker. You can tell by the colors and the cinematography. Everything's very dark and very desolate looking.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping they're able to mix in some sort of, not playfulness, but you know what I mean, some
feel
sort of
that, yeah.
lightheartedness.
I know what you mean. Yep.
So I was a little disappointed with Scorpion's voice, because the classic "Get Over Here" was so damn good in the first movie and the video
Mhm.
game, which is actually voiced over by the creator of the video game. He voiced that over. The one I heard in the trailer I wasn't too fond of. So I'm hoping they're able to still mix in some Mortal Kombat canon with the new style they're doing.
Are they gonna do the black thing where Jax gets fucked up first?
Oh, Jax dies first. Well, you see his arms get ripped off like
Yeah, that's
real
what-
fast.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Like, that
I was
like-
hoping
like the
I was
second
hoping
scene
Michael
I
Jai
saw.
White played Jax. He
Michael
feels like
Jai
he's
White?
tailor made. I don't know. In my head, I feel like Michael Jai White is Jax.
He is. I just think he's a little. If
Was
it's
he in
like
Black Dynamite?
5-6 years ago, maybe because
Was
he's
he-
getting up
was
there in
he-
age though.
Was he in Black Dynamite?
He's like 50. I'm not sure if he was.
Yo, Jamal, I know you've seen Black Dynamite.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
I always remember Brian McKnight's cameo in that joint.
Brian McKnight back at one.
I said-
Brian McKnight.
I seen this bitch. I told her, I said, bitch, you need pimp in your life. She said, I got me a pimp. I said, bitch, that man ain't no pimp. He just a valet for hoes.
Let me just say, there's nothing like better than a well-timed bitch in a line in a movie. A
And the
bitch
fact that it
from-
was Brian McKnight, like Brian McKnight out of all people, like it took me 3 watches to realize that that's Brian McKnight.
random.
I shattered dreams, broken heart. I'm gonna sing one more line to end up myself in detention, man.
Oh, real quick, speaking of
yeah.
movies, y'all see the new DC? I'm not a DC guy, I'm more of a Marvel guy, obviously, but the new DC movie's gonna be 4 hours long. Did you see that shit?
Dang,
No.
that's some Bollywood Indian movie type shit.
What movie is it?
Yeah, 2 interludes and shit.
It's the new, I forgot the name of it, but it's a new, basically new Justice League movie. I think it has Justice League in the title. 4 hours. I thought that shit was it was a rumor. I looked it up. It's like, yeah, 4 fucking hours long. 4 hours.
No one's gonna watch that shit, man.
You break that shit down.
Put
All
them
right,
in
so,
detention.
When is Mortal Kombat dropping?
April.
April.
Yeah, it's soon.
On streaming, right?
Yeah.
April
Go
16th.
back.
I can't
back,
wait.
That's a driving movie joint.
We'll be on the lookout for that. Listen, we gotta go ahead and get into detention. We got some kids lined up, ready for punishment.
Why are you looking at me?
You don't know who I'm looking at. We're gonna go ahead and start off with Big Boy. We're gonna throw this man in the detention room. He had an Instagram post, an anti-vaccine Instagram post of a puppeteer puppeting a man with a mask on, and the caption says, "Those who know the least obey the best." We got thoughts. What's up?
Two quick things. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this. First of all, I'm tired of old rappers doing dumb shit on social media. Green topic now because it happens way too often.
Mhm.
The fucking uncles off social media get because they,
Yo,
they
old school rappers, the new Republicans.
They are though, for real, man. They are. That's not too far off. Other thing, like, man, vaccination rates. If I get on my soapbox for a minute, vaccination rates are really shitty in the Black community,
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
yeah,
hard pressed to say that shit like this doesn't have anything to do with it.
yeah.
I see so many goddamn conspiracy theories and like you're a sheep because you're getting vaccine shit come out of, the Black community. It's sickening. So Big Boy, get the fuck out of here with that dumb shit.
Yeah.
Did he say that all they needed some Robitussin? Pull some tussin in there, boy. Let that tussin get in the bone.
That's and go take a nap. Get some gym.
Hey,
Yeah.
go ahead, take some of that ginger ale.
Yeah.
Go ahead, take some of that
You
ginger
short on
ale.
tussin, add some water, shake it up, mo tussin.
We'll test it.
I had an old coworker. She was like this 60-year-old Black woman. Her name was Toy, short for Toy. Yeah, Toy.
Yeah, the old Black woman.
That's a good one. Oh, I loved her to death, man. But she's ready. Hey, go ahead, take some of that Vicks Vapor Rub. Go ahead, and take some of
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
Take some of that Vicks Vapor Rub.
Just stayed in my house growing up, bro.
Smelled so
Bottle-
good.
We had a bottle of Vicks. She was like 18 years old, man. I was like, Mom, I don't think this shit is safe to put on my body anymore. No, just put it right,
Oh,
under,
them yeah.
put it right under your nose, put it right here and go to sleep. Put it on
them shits expired before you know it.
your,
It was like 2013 one time. That shit had 2009 on that shit. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah, yeah,
Shit
yeah.
expired.
Like, Ma, I can't
just
read
bought
the
this shit.
directions on the label anymore. Like, you sure this shit is safe? Like,
I just bought this shit.
yeah, it's still good. It's still good.
The OG inhalant
Mm.
Exactly.
The fuck?
before export markers.
We need a segment on home remedy comparisons between Black and brown people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because it's gonna be off the fucking chain.
Yeah.
Some turmeric.
Some turmeric on everything.
Turmeric is
The-
actually
the-
well, it's scientific.
It
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
it
for sure,
is,
for
it
sure.
is.
Anti-inflammatory.
But the boiling water in a bowl, like doused in, like with Vicks Vapor Rub, like mixed inside of the boiling water, and
Yeah,
you put a
some
cover
weird
over your
shit,
head.
man.
It's some
Anytime I had a
crazy shit.
stomach ache, my mom would give me like this spoon of like black
Jamal.
salt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
It's fucking nasty.
Oh,
Disgusting.
this is good. Well, we
we
got
got to do this.
segment ideas. I like this.
We can
shit.
get a segment out of
Some
this.
weird
Yeah.
shit.
That's what we're here for. We're gonna go ahead and move on. The kid at Cam Newton's football camp
Oh my god.
throwing jabs at him on camera. Now I got some thoughts on this. I'll open the floor up for anybody else who has thoughts on this.
So
Neil,
I
this is
saw
your
it
age group,
initially.
13
Yeah, and this is disturbing and why I hate Gen Z. Like, know your freaking place, kid. Like, you were talking to a former MVP who has made hundreds of millions of dollars. Who the fuck cares if he's a free agent right now? He's made more money than you're ever gonna make in your life. Like, just learn some respect, learn from a guy who can maybe teach you a thing or two, and move on. Why you gotta be? I don't even care if it's in the moment. I got up in this. No, that was an extended dialogue.
I didn't
just
see
for
the
no
clip.
reason.
So can you explain to me what the dialogue was?
I don't even know the full thing. I don't know if I've seen the full thing, but essentially, they get into some kind of banter, and Cam asks him something along the lines of, "Oh, what did you do for your team? How did you help your team contribute?" and things like that.
Yeah,
And this guy just doesn't give an answer. Jamal, you can get into it.
there's two clips. The one that I think that blew up the most was it picks up with Cam. His kids, they're both on the sideline. Cam's a little closer to the field. The kids with some other. This looks like probably like a spring type of camp.
7v7.
Yeah, they look like about 15, 16 years old. And the kids having an exchange with Cam, and he's saying, "But you're a free agent though."
Oh,
And
Lord.
Cam was like, "But I'm rich." And Cam's like, "You're a free agent though." Like,
This
he's like,
is stupid,
broke.
man.
He's like, "You broke. You're a free agent." And Cam was like, basically like, he's like, "I don't need to talk to you. Like, where's your dad?" Basically. So the kid's mouthing off, and Cam's going back at him, trying to, take the high road, basically. So it's one of these things where, kid's gassed up. He's probably getting egged on by people. He's doing, getting a viral moment, whatever. This shit just fucking irritated me because
This shit had no purpose being in the fucking news. Okay,
I hate
we're talking
that.
about a 13-year-old. We're talking about a 13-year-old, right? And Cam handled it in a perfect way, asking for the kid's dad. But this goes back to my whole take about social media, right? And the enabler that it's been on every front, whether it's being used to enable Tekashi as a rap artist, or whether it's being used to enable the viral outbreak of a video of a kid from Cam's football camp jawing off at him. He's 13 years old, and it goes viral like that. And it's not serious to begin with. And then you have all these social media, these media personalities. You got Fat Whitlock, of course, coming out bringing gangster rap into this shit.
Yeah, man. Did he
And it
really
gets-
speak up about this shit?
He did, and he blamed gangster rap about this, right? And it gets to the point. It gets to the point where the 13-year-old feels compelled to put a public apology out, right? And it's like no one gives like Cam handled that shit.
But if that was your son, what the
Uh-huh.
fuck would you? I mean, what would you do? Would you have him apologize? I mean,
Yeah, might as well bask in that
Child.
glory for a second.
it's embarrassing. I feel like
Sure.
it goes back to the thing about
Yes,
people taking too much license with celebrities and athletes, and thinking they're their fucking peers, and you could just
yes,
Right,
yes. I
you're
get
not.
that. I
You're
get
not.
that. I get that.
be in the presence of this
Right. And I get, bro,
Or
I get that. I get that. But Cam handled it on the spot, and then he handled it afterwards too, right? Because there's a second video
Yeah,
of him and the kid making amends and talking it through calmly. The coach got involved, blah, blah, blah. That's where it should have stayed. It became a national story because some dude held his phone up, put that shit on TikTok or whatever. And of course, the kid himself, the 13-year-old throwing jabs at Cam,
Yeah.
knows the videos, the camera's rolling,
of course.
and knows what this is going to become or what's going to come out of this. And it was exactly what we thought it was. Everybody's talking about it. Every media personality is talking about it.
We're
It's on
talking about
TV.
it.
We're talking about it. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was handled on the ground where it should have been. As a father, of course, if it blows up, I got to deal with it, right? Like, you got to deal with it. It's the times we live in. Like,
Yeah.
shit's gonna
I
blow
mean, for
up.
one, I'm glad
everything.
I haven't seen the video, but I'm glad he apologized.
He was compelled to. He had to because it became a national story.
I mean, but at the end
At
of the
the
day, he also
time-
could have just. I mean, you know.
My problem is him having the fucking nerve to talk shit.
He does it. Kids
Right,
having.
I'm with you,
it's
Jamal.
It's two different conversations, right? We can talk about the kid and the nerve, right?
Right.
I'm on board with that. Yeah, the kid has the nerve to say whatever he did, talking about Cam being a free agent. It was elementary shit. It was elementary shit, right? Like, you throwing jabs at a former MVP, former Super Bowl quarterback, talking about you a free agent. Some kid shit. That's why Cam called for the father. Like, where the fuck?
It's some
where
kid
the fuck is
shit,
your
but
dad
it
at?
also extends into adult shit because
Uh-huh.
most of what Twitter is I'm gonna observe everything and I'm gonna make fun of this person, right?
Mhm.
And people are gonna laugh with me because I'm making fun of him,
Yeah.
even
Right.
if there's no credibility or credence to what you're saying. It's this culture where like you always got to be the funny guy. You always got to insult somebody. You got to fucking ridicule somebody. It's
Guilty.
always got to critique somebody, right? And it always comes
Yeah.
from a place of no fucking knowledge.
Yeah.
It just bothers me. That whole culture bothers me.
Exactly.
It does.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Okay, we'll leave it at that. This other shit that bothers me too? Analytics nerds ruining basketball discourse.
So
I'm gonna go
this-
ahead. I'm gonna try to go. Go ahead. What's up?
So just to set it up, we were talking about
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards before, obviously, and what Abdul is really going to get about is, Anthony Edwards throws down this monster dunk, poster dunk.
Incredible.
I made the, a little bit of joke that Rui Hachimura is now the only Japanese player in the NBA because Yuto Watanabe,
Who's that he got a dunk on?
Yuta Watanabe, he went to GW, now plays for the Raptors, got absolutely destroyed.
Oh, did you know?
Neil practices his name all day long. He got good job, man. But good setup. I'm gonna start the shit. Shut the fuck up. Like
Nate Duncan, this is for you.
Don't get me wrong. I love numbers. I love stats. But when stats and numbers become too nerdy and they supersede the human element of sports, that's when I get pissed off. And there's two ways that numbers become nerdy, right? One is, of course, the advanced stats these nerds put up to analyze a player's talent. Again, I like them as a supporting cause, but don't make it like the baseline of your analysis. The other way is when you use them the way Nate Duncan did, right? After that Anthony Edwards dunk. There's a time and place for different types of conversations in sports, right? For example, when you see Anthony Edwards drive down the baseline and fucking yam it on a taller defender, you're not going to have your first reaction be, well, he only has 7 points and he missed all his fucking 3-pointers, right? That's not going to be your fucking reaction, right?
Your reaction is, oh shit, SC top 10 right there.
Yeah. No, right. Like imagine being in a real life gathering outside of Twitter, right? And you watch that dunk with a few guys and one of them said what Nate Duncan said, right? I promise you will never watch a fucking game with him again.
Oh, absolutely.
But did you see that dunk?
Nah, you're not watching this. You're not coming out with us tonight, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's spitting facts. They'll say shit like that. That's not the point. If you can't enjoy basketball,
enjoy it, right?
As an art, there's an artistic element to sports, right?
Yeah.
These are real life humans performing shit that we could never imagine, right? Your
Right.
Dr. J's, your Jordans, your Iversons, pure entertainment, right? So that's what Anthony Edwards' dunk was, and that's how it should be talked about. Is all I'm saying. Period. Because if you want to discuss Anthony Edwards as an all-around player and his development as a rookie, then you could talk about the 10 threes he missed. And exactly. All that shit, right? But for me, it's just tragic that we even have to have this discussion or this be a topic, because if you don't understand the fundamental aspects of being a basketball fan, then just talk about something else, man.
Yeah.
I'll just say
I never.
There's a time and place for everything. There's a time and place for everything. That's all I'm saying.
With that Sloan conference shit.
It's
ban that shit.
I've struggled with this the most because I've always liked, Kobe was always, it's like my favorite player ever, and Kobe was a stat person's worst nightmare, right? And he was always the subject of Henry Abbott articles and Hollinger ratings and whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck
And
that.
I began to notice that when you would ask an analyst who never played basketball about someone like Kobe, there would just be all of this critique. And if you ever asked an actual player, they would always, it's like the LeBron and Kobe thing. All the players always pick Kobe. I'm not trying to make this a LeBron Kobe thing, but all the analysts, the stat people who haven't played basketball, and I'm not denigrating, I'm not dismissing LeBron, it was always funny because they would always side with him. And you would always see a guy like Nick Wright, he would be on with a basketball player and they would argue about this. And there was always an aspect of the game that an actual basketball player would try to explain to a analyst that could not be measured in numbers,
Yep.
right?
Right. Yep.
Absolutely.
I like Allen Iverson, you know, along with Kobe, but there's a certain factor with Allen Iverson that
Yes.
players would talk about. His
Yes.
relentlessness, the fact that he
Right.
took so many shots, and his
He
relentlessness.
scared the shit out of him. Yeah.
Yeah, he really
Yeah.
would wear down a team to the point of
Yes.
submission. And Kobe was the
Absolutely.
same way, where
Mhm.
you didn't know what to expect. That unmeasured aspect of being able to
Mhm.
put that pressure on a defense could not be
Yes.
measured by numbers, right?
Right.
And the same thing
Right.
when Bomani Jones, you know, was talking about Kobe had a game where he took, you know, so and so many shots and he had so and so many points, and Bomani Jones was like, please, any of those Lakers backups could have scored that many points and that many shots, right? Phil Jackson came back and said, you don't get it. It takes a special player to
Yes. To
get
50 shots.
that many good
Yeah.
shots, right?
Yes, I remember that tweet. I love
So
it.
at the end of the day, they've created a market for themselves. And in essence, they don't exist without peddling this bullshit,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
They
They
have no
don't.
place because they don't play. And I'm not saying if you don't play, you have no knowledge of the game, but there's always going to be a certain aspect you are never going to understand, right?
The
And
human
you have to be able
element
to admit
of the
this.
game.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it applies across all professions, right? Even when we look
Exactly.
at cops and we criticize policing and their treatment of ethnic communities, and obviously there needs to be police reform, whatever you know, in not in the way that people misconstrue it, you know, there's still being a cop is something we want to understand, right? So these things require more discussion. It can't be just put on numbers, right?
Right.
And that's what frustrates me the most. And it correlates exactly to the Cam Newton thing, because when you get to sports, you know, it's the same mentality of like, oh, this guy's a scrub, right? But in actuality, Cam Newton is one of the 30 to 45 best quarterbacks in the
Mhm.
world,
Mhm.
right? And the same thing goes for some of these stats where they're trying to tear people down constantly when they don't realize that we can enjoy all these players in different ways and what they bring
Yeah.
to the table. You know, not everybody is going to be a stat guy's wet dream, right? Like Anthony Edwards.
Right.
He might be able to provide a play and provide us entertainment.
No, I totally agree, and everything that you said kind of goes back to, you know, there's a time and place for every type of conversation with sports, right? Like there's a time to talk about a player's stats and you know, his shot flow, all this other stuff. But you know, talking about Anthony Edwards in that moment, right? Maybe he knew he was 0 for 7 from 3 and was like,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm gonna fucking yam it on somebody. And he found his fucking victim and he did it. And it
Yeah.
was prolific. It was insane. It was one of the best dunks we ever saw in a long time.
Yeah.
And so to get that reaction out of certain, you know, like we said, unathletic, non-playing nerds out there that have a certain one
Yeah.
scope of what the fuck they talk about and what their audience wants to hear.
Trying to actually a dunk. It's just-
Yeah, well, actually a dunk. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, like
And he's not talking about me. I'm athletic. Might be nerdy, but not athletic.
We need to see, we need to see you at the next Wizards Media dunk contest. They had the trampoline and everything set out for that shit.
Yeah, man. Like they were telling me, oh, if you got to take the trampoline away, Neil doesn't need the advantage. I was like, come on, man. I got like a 3-inch vertical. Chill out.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Patreon.
Can you
content
dunk?
there.
Can you dunk?
Not without a trampoline.
really?
How
How
tall
tall is he?
How tall are you?
I'm 6'2".
Oh, 6'2". Yeah, you can't dunk.
If I was 6'2", I'd be yamming.
Hell no, you would not.
Get the
I
fuck
would
outta
be-
here.
I would make sure my fucking vertical is just. Are you kidding me? 6'2"?
That's not
Yeah.
that tall. It's tall, but it's not
Listen,
dunk tall.
I'm 5'7" and some change. I'm gonna call it 5'8" on a good day. I'd be looking at these rims and be like, man, if I was just 2 inches taller, man, I'd be fucking yam that shit.
2 inches? Oh, man. You're getting ahead of yourself. Yeah, I got no
Oh,
vert.
my goodness.
If I had a vertical, you know, I'd be the Indian player in the NBA right now. But
How do you-
alas.
how you 6'2" with no vert? What happened?
well, the problem was that high school, I started freshman year of high school 5 feet tall, and then out of nowhere, I just grew a fuck ton. And then by the time I was grown, I was like, wow, I really should have invested more time into my athleticism.
It's not in our genes.
Motherfucker
Yeah,
started
that
drinking
too.
4%.
Brown
started
people in
drinking
general.
4%.
All those
said
goat
he-
stews do not translate to higher verticals.
He said, yo, this motherfucker grew 14 inches in 3 years, man. Motherfucker
That's the Anthony Davis shit.
discovered vitamin D milk and shit, man.
Yeah, honestly though, by probably freshman, sophomore year of college, I was
Yeah.
to where
More
I am now.
Ovaltine, please.
More Ovaltine, please. All right, I'm gonna stop talking about dunking, man, because I'm just dunking on myself at this point. That's a wrap, man. Hey, that was some good shit. We went over $140 on this shit tonight. The Wizards still down double digits.
But they
They
were
were-
within
They
five.
were down 5.
They
were
were
down
within
5.
5. We saw
Then
that,
the
yeah.
third.
It's back to
Abdullah was
15.
sweating for a little bit, but he's
It's
all
down
right.
to
They
10.
are going to lose
Yeah.
to the Clippers tonight.
No, I want them to win, man. I mean, winning feels good. Once you start feeling some wins, you kind of go back to that. It starts to feel good. You want them to win more. So we're not tanking. We're gonna get this A seed. We're a playoff team, quote unquote. Bradley Beal. We are a playoff team. The Participation Trophy Podcast.
Hey,
I'm glad y'all joined us again. Episode 23 on its way. I am Abdullah, Jamal, Neil, Zain Zaidi. We out.
peace.